Hey there, online students. It is Monday, February the 13th. This is Dr. Buer. Welcome to the fifth week of classes for spring of 2023. Hope all of you are doing well. We have had, I think, a good start to the semester. It's kind of neat to think that we are already almost a third of the way done. Each semester at DTS is 15 weeks, 14 weeks of classes, and then 1 week of exams. So we're almost a third of the way done. So I hope that you are in your group and that you're really enjoying the classes you're taking, and I hope that the ones that you've got with me are especially enjoyable. All right, so here's what we've got going on this week. In NT 5103, we are now into the study guides. And let me talk to you just a little bit about why we do this. A lot of this will seem, I don't know if it'll seem pedantic or nitpicky or what have you, but what we're trying to do is to give you a chance to really dig into the scripture by translating it regularly and by digging into questions of grammar. And so these study guides are what you could say worksheets, assignments that are going to dig into all of these kind of questions. Let me go to one actually that is an actual study guide. Number 1, you'll see has an asterisk, which means it's filled out for you. So all you need to do as you translate the scripture is read through that and kind of look at the kinds of questions we're going to ask you. But if you go to study guide number 3, which is one that you have to complete by Wednesday, what you'll see is that it's questions about the Greek text. It's information about the Greek text. We're kind of holding your hand as you go through the passage. And the goal is to have a good understanding of the grammar. As you come to a particular question, for example, we'll ask you about tense and mood. This particular question is basically a parsing question. But then we ask you things like, what is the best use of the mood? And that's a question that will force you to go back to Dr. Wallace's text and to examine the grammar, think through the categories, and then make an answer right here. So the questions are designed to get you back into Dr. Wallace's text, get you thinking about grammar, and getting you into the text in a very tangible and analytical way. Now, it will feel like a fair bit of work. There's going to be parsing questions along the way. There will be some things you just need to read. We're going to point you to BDAG and things like that. But the main thing is are you able to apply the things that you've learned from Dr. Wallace's text by answering the grammatical questions correctly? So you'll notice that along the way, there are going to be discussion areas. You are welcome to ask any questions in those discussion areas if you need some help. You'll also note, that in the syllabus, you are allowed to change 2 answers after discussing, interacting with others, etc. My encouragement would be to work through these all at once, and then before you turn it in, go back and ask any questions to make sure that you get the answers that you need. But again, the point is, we want you to think carefully about the text, so feel free to ask questions, and you're allowed to change 2 based upon interactions with others. All right, so this is going to be our standard fare for the balance of the course. We're going to work through John chapter 4 and all of the book of Philippians. We're going to be going through 24 total study guides. Several of them are completed for you. Anything that has an asterisk, you just have to look at. You don't have to actually complete. But after you've done this, you'll have a real good grasp of grammar because we're constantly digging into how does it work. You're going to have to go back to Dr. Wallace's text and think about your answers and to work them through. It's a good exposure to both translating at an in-depth level and working through the grammar. All right, in NT 5104, we're currently in the module where we're actually writing the validation paper. Last week we worked on the validation example, and this week we're actually working on the paper. And I want to point out something to you. On the instruction page for the validation, that's the validation example. I need to go to the actual validation paper. You'll notice that I give you the particular problem that you've got to work on, and then I walk you through exactly what I want to see. So this is a very particular assignment. You can't just write it willy-nilly. I really want you to follow the format that I've asked you for. And the reason being is that will force you, to look for and include all of the things that we want you to include. So be sure to read this very carefully. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask me. But today, or this week, we're finishing up validation. You're actually going to work on a particular issue in Ephesians 2:14. Now, in NT 5110, we are now in a module that lasts for 2 weeks. And the reason it lasts for 2 weeks is at the end of this module, you have to turn in your research paper bibliography. Now, this bibliography assignment is different than others you may have done. So I want you to go to this page and read this very carefully. I'll talk it through more at length next week when I give you the weekly video update. But for now, just read through this. You're welcome to contact me if you've got questions, but this will explain to you what we want you to do. There are some very particular things we're looking for, and very specifically, you're going to have to look at some ancient resources in order to fulfill this assignment. So just read through this and be prepared to work on it a little bit more carefully next week. You can, of course, get started this week, but next week is when I'll explain it a little more carefully. All right, well, that's what we've got going on this week. If you have any questions, you're welcome to contact me, and I hope and pray that you're doing well. And like I said, that you have found your groove as the semester is almost a third of the way done. I'll be praying for you, and reach out as necessary to get in touch with me, and I hope you have a great week.